Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that the first day of June went smoothly for you. This is our month, man. This is the one that's going to help us anchor more into the fifth dimension. We're going to get a little bit more used to being multidimensional characters, more aware anyway. It's been a really wild trip. Today has been one of up and downs emotionally and even weather-wise. I've gotten reports from people saying that there's been like storms come through and then a clear sky and then a storm come through and then a clear sky over the past 24 hours. And it seems to be that way with some people are going through this emotionally as well as like storms, like little actual weather. For the past week, it's been that way here. We've had early morning hailstorms almost every day, like 6, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. And then an hour later, it's sunny and beautiful. Pure blue skies, puffy white clouds, an ideal day. And then a couple hours later, storms. A couple hours later, clear again. And it's just, we're all clearing out emotional stuff. Like the earth is cleansing itself from stuff, and we are too. Today's the last day in which our crown chakras are being swept out, basically, by gamma radiation and cosmic solar winds and plasma and whatnot. I don't know. I just know that a bunch of energy had been sent our way, and it seems to be, for now, the last of it has been sent, and it's over, and we're clearing out the rest of the cobwebs, basically. When I looked on the Schumann resonance today, it literally just said calm. And when I asked my higher guidance today about the Ascension symptom scale, 96. So we are still experiencing symptoms. My God, my tinnitus is out of control today, and there's been a lot. We've had a lot of, but just basic stuff, just fatigue and a little testy emotionally, and just the last bastions of remnants of depression and some of the more negative emotions: anxiety, fear, doubt, self-doubt, mistrust or lack of trust in the universe, lack of trust in intuition. But it's not like 100%, like I've had it come and go in waves for me the past day. Even some darker ideas and thoughts. And so it's like most of the people that were like super clear and feeling great within the past 24, 48 hours, I think there's a little bit more stuff kind of just last minute clearing. I know that I woke up today and I'd slept 7.5 hours and I could have stayed up, and instead I was like, screw it. Went back to bed for a couple more hours, and I had dreams. My dream angel came and showed me a bunch of stuff, and it was just lessons to learn. It wasn't about anyone in reality, in any reality. But my lesson was I got to see why it takes a while for our manifestations to manifest, and how timing is important with that. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because my dream was it was like really crazy, but it was all these characters, and in my dream I knew who they were. It's like 10 people. I had roommates I was living with, and I had gained to know each of them, and I prayed for each of them to have certain things happen in their lives. Like I pray for that one to have more self-esteem and feel comfortable in his body, and I prayed for her to have a better relationship, and then I prayed for so I had like prayers I had said for all my roommates in my dream, people that don't even exist in reality. And my dream angel showed me that if my dreams instantly manifested in one moment, and so in one moment, all the things I prayed for all these people manifested, and it created chaos between all the different people. And it created like just absolute and completely nutter chaos, like completely with unintended consequences. And it showed me that everything has to be in divine timing and divine order in order for the world to work. You can't just pray for somebody to have a car and then the next day a car appears in their driveway and the keys appear in their hand. You know, there's always unintended consequences when you do something like that. Like, what if you prayed for someone to get a car and then you find out later they don't know how to drive and they crashed and died? You know what I mean? Like, or if you, oh, you don't have a car, I feel so sorry for you, let me buy you one. And then, you know, they're not prepared for the responsibility of that. You know, I've been in my life, I've observed times in which my actions had a wonderful consequence followed by immediately a terrible consequence. You know, and I've been doubting myself as far as, like, a few days ago, I was researching more into nutrition about a specific thing, and I realized that some of the health advice I gave my mom was extremely bad advice, and she died, and then I feel like maybe I somehow contributed to that. And the same thing with my ex-husband. I'd given him some advice, and then I wonder now, did I contribute to his demise in some way, unintentionally? You know, like I told him to get his, this is my examples, I told him to get the metal filling in his tooth removed because I was worried that it might be slowly poisoning his system. And he says, but I feel fine. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. And I have one too, but I didn't get mine removed. And we said, well, let's get yours removed first because you have toothache before me. So he got his removed, and within like a couple of years, he had cancer. You know, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I hope that had nothing. It probably had nothing to do with it, but I started having these weird ideas and thoughts of self-doubt. So, for example, you know, and I feel like our day-to-day living in life and what we think is right one day might turn out to be wrong the next day. When I was a kid, they said that eggs are really bad for you and potatoes are extremely fattening. And then after a while, they said, oh, wait, potatoes are not fattening at all. It's all the stuff you put on top of it. Duh, right? And then all of a sudden, eggs are good for you. And then all of a sudden in the 80s, eggs are bad for you, except you can eat the whites but not the yellows. But now they're saying that if you eat only the egg whites, what happens is your body will start to produce more cholesterol, the bad kind, because you did not eat the cholesterol in the yellow kind, which was actually good for you, and prevents your body from manufacturing the bad kind. So, and every year come out studies that coffee is really good for you and prevents cancer. And then at the same year, you'll get coffee is really bad for you. It causes cancer, you know, and there's all this conflicting information. And it's like, I don't know if we believe what we're doing is good for us, does that make it good for us? And if we believe what we're doing for us is bad for us, does that make us get sick? Possibly it's all the placebo effect. You know, so these are the kinds of thoughts I've had today. It's been really a strange day for just existential crisis in a way, you know, like, my oldest and I were talking about, you know, like there was a moment in which there was a little kid that wanted to get a ball out of a machine for like 25 cents. And the mom and dad looked like they just spent some money. They were really stressed about it. They could ill afford whatever, probably clothing for the kids. And this little kid really wanted a ball out of this little machine, this little crank machine. And we were like, you know what, that'd be so sweet if we could just be, hey, we'll give you the little gift, and this would be really sweet. this little girl really wanted it. And she had a little baby brother who was crying and, acting like he can't walk and kind of falling down and hugging on his parents' legs and just being like fussy, like he needed to eat. Poor kid. He was probably out all day and he was exhausted. His little legs could hardly handle it. and my oldest started looking through his, his coinage to find the right coin. And I started looking through mine and we couldn't find it in time. Finally, the parents were like, forget it. We're not going to buy that for you. Forget it. And then they'd like, nunca mente, and you're just taking you home, And of course, both kids start crying. And my oldest said to me, it's so sad. I really wanted to buy a ball for that little girl. It would have made her happy. At least it would have alleviated the stress of the parents as far as the one child is concerned. They could have focused on the other child while she focused on the toy. And I said, but all of our actions have consequences. What if you did buy that for her? And that's exactly what happened. But then they went home and the little baby swallowed it and died because they couldn't get it out of his throat. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the reason we suddenly don't have quarters, whereas like a couple hours ago, it seems like all we had were quarters. Maybe right now we weren't supposed to do that. Maybe there would have been an unintentional consequence of our actions. And it's like weird. It's a weird thought, but you can't understand the consequences that your actions are going to have 100% of the time, all the way through, seeing it all the way through forever. It was nice that I invited my father-in-law to have dinner at our house for Thanksgiving. But 48 hours later, he was in the hospital because there was too much butter in my food. It was an unintentional consequence. He ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. But while there, found out he had diabetes and he stopped drinking sodas and stopped eating sugar, and he ended up losing 40 pounds. Unintentional consequences. All I wanted was, hey, let's have a family dinner. That was my that was my intention. But the unintentional consequence, almost led to his demise. But in the end, it led to his losing a lot of weight and changing his life around. And I don't know. It's just like there's so many things, I don't know. This is going to be an ongoing thing, but I want you guys to try to be aware of your consequences and what can happen, but also don't blame yourself or feel guilty when things have unintentional consequences. Daniel Scranton channeled the Arcturian Council. I got an email with a transcript, and they were talking about how, as light workers and spiritual people that are aware and awake, and we know that this is happening, the ascension is real, and the rest of humanity just is la la la, they're off in Smurfville somehow, like sleeping, and we feel like we're doing all the damn work, and all these disasters around the world are happening, and then we're like, oh, maybe, it's the consequence of our emotions, and maybe it's us, and maybe we didn't do good enough, and the world is still heating up, and it's our fault because we didn't stop driving our car, or maybe we didn't do the right thing, or we didn't eat the right food, or wear the right clothes, and unintentional consequence, right? But what they said is we need to stop feeling guilty because we are enough and we are doing enough. We are okay. Okay? Like, we're not single-handedly Superman saving the frickin' world, flying backwards to turn back time to fix everything. We can't do that. Some of us wear capes, but some of us, wear the opposite direction and becomes an apron. We can only work from home. Everybody is responsible for themselves. And it's hard when you think you are everyone too. But we need to stop feeling guilty because that's serving nobody. And we have to understand that it's not up to us to save the world. It's only up to us to raise our vibration, to bring in as much love, peace, harmony, happiness, and joy that we can muster. It's up to us to consciously heal ourselves when we don't feel those things. And it's only up to us to love everybody, including ourselves first. We can only take responsibility for our own lives and our own children, and that's about it. And we can't even take responsibility for our parents. I mean, unless they're old and feeble and they need our help, and that way we take care of them and we're responsible. But in the end, the only thing that matters is that you loved and were loved, and you're always loved by God, and you understand you did your best. You are enough. You are worthy. And even if your actions have unintentional consequences, I mean, a butterfly flapping its wings in Japan creates a typhoon somewhere else in the world. That's okay. Everything is connected. But maybe that typhoon somehow helped, Yeah. Everything is connected, but it's okay. We don't have to feel guilty for being responsible for it. If we're flapping our wings just because that causes storms somewhere else, there's nothing we can do about that. It already happened. And everything's already happened anyway, because time is not linear. It just exists. We're linear when we go along the linear time, and we don't even go along it that way anymore. So we have to stop thinking in that way. But all time exists now. Everything's happening now. You're still living all your past lives now. All your future lives now. Everything is just now. Anyway, I'm going to read poetry from Sri Aurobindo Gose today. And I'm going to do that after this message. So stick around. We're going to go over some really deep metaphysical, spiritual, cosmic consciousness poetry. All right, right after this. Hey you, have you ever thought about having your own podcast like me? Was it even a New Year's resolution? For me, it sure was. But as I've been looking into this for months, I was daunted. There's so many questions I had. When I was trying to get this off the ground, I was wondering, how do I record the episode? How do I get it across all the platforms? How do I get my podcast on Apple Podcasts when I don't even have an iPhone? How do I get it onto Spotify and all the other places? How do I get people to listen? And how do I make money from my podcast? How do I edit it? Oh my God, I had all these questions, and I was so confused until I discovered the simple answer is Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free, and it is ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. All you need to do is record it. You don't have to go out and look for people to advertise on your show. They help you. So basically what I like about podcasting is I don't have to have a video of myself. You don't know if my hair is dirty or if I'm still in my pajamas or even if I'm wearing makeup. Haha. And it's so easy. I could do this from the comfort of my own home, in my living room, using this amazing app right from my cell phone. So easy, right? So if you've always wanted to start your own podcast and make money, by the way, doing it, please go to anchor.fm/start. That is anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters that are already using Anchor. Again, that's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast, and I can't wait to favorite you. Woohoo! Let's be broadcast podcast buddies. I'll see you there. Sri Aurobindo Ghose, 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 I think. He was born in Calcutta, India. He was born in 1872 on August 15th, which makes him a Leo. He probably had a lot of charisma. He died on the 5th of December in 1950. He was an Indian philosopher, yogi, guru, poet, and nationalist. And in his youth, in his his 20s, he had joined the Indian movement for independence from British rule. And he was an influential leader for a while. Now, so much so that he was thrown in jail, and his trial lasted about a year. And he was actually on trial for treason. Pretty much all over the world, that means, you're going against the government, you're going to get shot. And in the end, it just turned out he had published a couple articles speaking out against the government. People in his movement that he had started, some of the people had turned radical, and there was a couple bombings that had nothing to do with him directly, and he was cleared of all charges, but the whole time he was kept in jail. And 2 weeks, a fortnight, as he recalls, during his time in jail, Swami Vivekananda came to him. And every single day, his presence was felt in his cell, and he directed him with his voice. And so there was like a telepathic spiritual communication between the two men, even though Swami Vivekananda was not in the jail physically. He sent his spiritual essence to be by Sri Aurobindo's side for 2 weeks. Now, during those 2 weeks, it changed his whole world, his whole life, the direction he was headed in, which, he's already on trial for treason at a pretty young age. And, he had come back from, he actually studied in Cambridge University so that he could get a civil servant job in India. So he finished his degree, came back, and then started this political movement and became a civil servant as well. So he wasn't really headed down like the best path. And Swami Vivekananda was a spiritual master, and he knew it. So he kind of gently guided him for 2 weeks and changed the whole course of his life. So Sri Aurobindo became then a spiritual reformer, and he introduced his visions on spiritual evolution and human progress, and started something called integral yoga. He and his wife together founded a center called the Aurobindo Ashram, so people could come and learn about the style of yoga that he created based on his spiritual insights that he received while he was in prison. So we are going to read some of his poetry tonight. So the first poem is Cosmic Consciousness. I have wrapped the wide world in my wider self, and time and space my spirits seeing are. I am the god and demon, ghost and elf. I am the wind's speed and the blazing star. All nature is the nursling of my care. I am its struggle and the eternal rest. The world's joy thrilling runs through me. I bear the sorrow of millions in my lonely breast. I have learned a close identity with all, yet am by nothing bound that I become. Carrying in me the universe's call, I mount to my imperishable home. I pass beyond time and life on measureless wings, yet still am one with born and unborn things. All right, the next poem I'm going to read is called Bliss of Identity. All nature is taught in radiant ways to move. All beings are in myself embraced. O fiery, boundless heart of joy and love, how art thou beating in a mortal's breast? It is thy rapture flaming through my nerves, and all my cells and atoms thrill with thee. My body, thy vessel, is and only serves as a living wine cup of thy ecstasy. I am a center of thy golden light, and I its vast and vague circumference. Thou art my soul, great, luminous, and white, and thine my mind and will and glowing sense. The Spirit's infinite breath I feel in me. My life is a throb of thy eternity. Okay, the next poem is called The Witness Spirit. I dwell in the Spirit's calm, nothing can move, and watch the actions of thy vast world force. Its mighty wings that through infinity move, and the time gallopings of the deathless horse. This mute stupendous energy that whirls the stars and nebulae in its long train, like a huge serpent through my being curls, with its diamond hood of joy and fangs of pain. It rises from the dim inconscient deep, upcoiling through the minds and hearts of men, then touches on some height of luminous sleep, the bliss and splendor of the eternal plain. All this I bear in me untouched and still, assenting to thy all-wise, inscrutable will. All right, the next one is called The Infinite Adventure. On the waters of a nameless infinite, my skiff is launched. I have left the human shore. All fades behind me, and I see before the unknown abyss and one pale pointing light. An unseen hand controls my rudder night. Walls up the sea in a black corridor, and inconscient hunger's lion plaint and roar, or the ocean sleep of a dead eremite. I feel the greatness of the power I seek. Surround me, below are its giant deeps. Beyond the invisible height no soul has trod. I shall be merged in the lonely and unique, and wake in the sudden blaze of God. the marvel and rapture of the apocalypse. All right, this next poem is called The Stone Goddess. In a town of gods, housed in a little shrine, from sculptured limbs the Godhead looked at me. A living presence, deathless and divine, a form that harbored all infinity. The great world mother and her mighty will inhabited the earth's abysmal sleep. Voiceless, omnipotent, inscrutable, mute in the desert and the sky and deep. Now veiled with mind, she dwells and speaks no word, voiceless, inscrutable, omniscient. Hiding until our soul has seen, has heard, the secret of her strange embodiment. One in the worshiper and the immobile shape, a beauty and mystery flesh or stone can drape. Okay, in this next one, I wanted to remind you that the goddess Kalima, she dances on the battlegrounds of our lives and takes away our sorrows so that we don't have to keep reliving our past misdeeds or misfortunes that have befallen us. And Lord Krishna is literally the embodiment of the Christ consciousness. He was like the equivalent of Christ in India. Also, in this next poem, he does mention the words, the soul's 7 doors. Can you guys guess what 7 doors might mean? I'm going to give you a couple seconds to figure it out. If you haven't figured it out by now, it means the 7 chakras. We have been healed in our 7 chakras quite a bit in the past 2 weeks. So I thought this one might be interesting to read. All right, so this one is called The Cosmic Dance. Dance of Krishna, Dance of Kali. 2 measures are there of the cosmic dance. Always we hear the tread of Kali's feet, measuring in rhythms of pain and grief and chance, life's game of hazard, terrible and sweet. The ordeal of the veiled initiate, the hero soul at play with death's embrace, wrestler in the dread gymnasium of fate, and sacrifice a lonely path to grace. Man's sorrows made a key to the mysteries, truth's narrow road out of time's wastes of dream. The soul's 7 doors from matter's tomb to rise are the common motives of her tragic theme. But when shall Krishna's dance through nature move, his mask of sweetness, laughter, rapture, love? All right, this next poem is called The Golden Light. Thy golden light came down into my brain, and the gray rooms of mind, sun-touched, became a bright reply to wisdom's occult plane, a calm illumination, and a flame. Thy golden light came down into my throat, and all my speech is now a tune divine. A paean song of thee, my single note. My words are drunk with the immortal's wine. Thy golden light came down into my heart, smiting my life with thy eternity. Now has it grown a temple where thou art, and all its passions point towards only thee. Thy golden light came down unto my feet. My earth is now thy playfield and thy seat. The following poem has a note, so when I say the words hunting the fugitive, by the word fugitive he means, in this instance, unseizable, something that's unattainable. You can't get it. So just so you know, this one is called The Universal Incarnation. There is a wisdom like a brooding sun, a bliss in the heart's crypt grown fiery white, the heart of a world in which all hearts are one, a silence on the mountains of delight, a calm that cradles fate upon its knees, a wide compassion leans to embrace earth's pain, a witness dwells within our secrecies, the incarnate Godhead in the body of man. Our mind is a glimmering curtain of that ray, our strength a parody of the immortal's power, our joy a dreamer on the eternal's way, hunting the fugitive beauty of an hour. Only on the heart's veiled door, the word of flame, is written the secret and tremendous name. All right, this one's called To Weep Because a Glorious Sun, and it's spelled like the sun in the sky, S-U-N, just so you understand that. To weep because a glorious sun has set, which the next morn shall gild the east again. To mourn that mighty strengths must yield to fate, which by that force a double strength attain. To shrink from pain, without whose friendly strife joy could not be. To make a terror of death, whose smiling beckons us to farther life, and is a bridge for the persistent breath. Despair and anguish and tragic grief of dry-set eyes or such disastrous tears as rend the heart, though meant for its relief, and all men's ghastly company of fears, are born of folly that believes the span of life the limit of immortal man. All right, this one is called I Have 100 Lives. I have 100 lives before me yet, to grasp thee in, O spirit ethereal. Be sure I will with heart insatiate pursue thee like a hunter through them all. Thou yet shalt turn back on the eternal way, and with awakened vision watch me come, smiling a little at errors past and lay thy eager hand in mine its proper home. Meanwhile, made happy by thy happiness, I shall approach thee in things and people dear, and in thy spirit's motions half possess, loving what thou hast loved, shall feel thee near, until I lay my hands on thee indeed, somewhere among the stars, as 'twas decreed. Of course, that is about him finding God in every single thing and every single person in his life, because he was on the spiritual path, the deep spiritual path. That was kind of a sweet one, wasn't it? All right, this one is called Electron. The electron on which forms and worlds are built, leaped into being, a particle of God. A spark from the eternal energy spilt. It is the infinite's blind minute abode. In that small flaming chariot Shiva rides, the one devised innumerably to be, his oneness in invisible forms he hides, time's tiny temples of eternity. Atom and molecule in their unseen plan buttress an edifice of strange onenesses. Crystal and plant, insect and beast and man, man on whom the world unity shall seize. Widening his soul spark to an epiphany of the timeless vastness of infinity. All right, guys, the next poem is called Liberation. I have thrown from me the whirling dance of mind and stand now in the spirit's silence, free. Timeless and deathless beyond creature kind, the center of my own eternity. I have escaped and the small self is dead. I am immortal, alone, ineffable. I have gone out from the universe I made and have grown nameless and immeasurable. My mind is hushed in a wide and endless light. My heart a solitude of delight and peace. My sense unsnared by touch and sound and sight. My body a point in white infinities. I am the one being's sole immobile bliss. No one I am, I who am all that is. This poem is called Life Unity. I housed within my heart the life of things. All hearts athrob in the world I felt as mine. I shared the joy that in creation sings, and drank its sorrow like a poignant wine. I have felt the anger in another's breast. All passions poured through my world self their waves. One love I shared in a million bosoms expressed. I am the beast man slays, the beast he saves. I spread life's burning wings of rapture and pain. Black fire and gold fire strove towards one bliss. I rose by them towards a supernal plane of power and love and deathless ecstasies. A deep spiritual calm no touch can sway upholds the mystery of this passion play. Well, since the Bilderbergers are meeting right now, I'm going to dedicate this one to them. This one's called The Iron Dictators. I looked for thee alone, but met my glance, the iron dreadful four who rule our breath, masters of falsehood, kings of ignorance, high sovereign lords of suffering and death. Whence came these formidable autarchies? From what inconscient blind infinity? Cold propagandists of a million lies, dictators of a world of agony. Or was it thou who borest the fourfold mask? Enveloping thy timeless heart in time, thou hast bound the spirit to its cosmic task, to find thee veiled in this tremendous mime, Thou, only thou, canst raise the invincible siege. O light, O deathless joy, O rapturous peace. All right, the next one is called the Divine Hearing. All sounds, all voices have become thy voice. Music and thunder and the cry of birds, life's babble of her sorrows and her joys, cadence of human speech and murmured words, the laughter of the sea's enormous mirth, the winged plane purring through the conquered air, the auto's trumpet song of speed to earth, the machine's reluctant drone, the siren's blare, blowing upon the windy horn of space, a call of distance and of mystery. Memories of sun-bright lands and ocean ways are all now wonder tones and themes of thee. A secret harmony steals through the blind heart, and all grows beautiful because thou art. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed my reading of these sonnets and poems from Sri Aurobindo. He is extremely important in my life because when I gave birth to my second son, Sri Aurobindo's spirit was with me. I did not know who he was. I had no idea. He appeared to me along with Paramahansa Yogananda and a couple other masters and the goddess Pele. And they were present at my son's birth. And I knew that my son was going to be very spiritual eventually. And it happened. He's 16 and finally kind of gave into his empathic and spiritual nature. So I had to look up spiritual masters that dressed a certain way, and it's like I didn't even know his name, and I thought I heard Aurobindo, but it didn't make sense, so I kept looking it up until I found him. So I don't know, it's been really a joy for me to read his poems tonight. I had never read his poetry before. I've discovered it with you in this moment. So I think I'll read maybe one or two more, and then that will be all she wrote for the night. This one is called The Universal Incarnation. There is a wisdom like a brooding sun, a bliss in the heart's crypt grown fiery white. The heart of a world in which all hearts are one, a silence on the mountains of delight. A calm that cradles fate upon its knees. A wide compassion leans to embrace earth's pain. A witness dwells within our secrecies, the incarnate Godhead in the body of man. Our mind is a glimmering curtain of that ray. Our strength the parody of the immortal's power. Our joy a dreamer of the eternal's way, hunting the fugitive beauty of an hour. Only on the veiled heart's door, the word of flame, is written the secret and tremendous name. All right, you guys, I already read this one. Why am I reading that one again? I don't know. I think that one kind of needed to be read again. That's so weird. Sorry about that. He has like hundreds of poems and I reread one. That's not the one I meant to click on. I hope you enjoyed it twice. So sorry. All right, this is the one I meant to click on. So sorry. This one's called The Greater Plan. Because this is basically, I'm trying to say that my son, when he was born, there was always a greater plan. And not just with him, not just with my kids or with me or whatever. Every single person on earth, for all of us, there is a greater plan. Sometimes we can't see it right now. Even if you feel frustrated and sad and depressed and alone and lonely some days, there's always, the sunshine is always right around the corner. Every time there's a storm, the sun's coming. You just got to take a deep breath and wait 5 minutes. Take a deep breath and wait 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 hours, 5 minutes. Because there's always a greater plan, and if we're not alive to see it, we're not, and we don't want to miss out. So if you haven't figured out what your greater plan is yet, that's okay. Just keep waiting because it's almost there. In fact, it'll be when you give up and when you least expect it, boom, there it is in your lap. That's how it works. That's how life always works. Life is so strange that way. Anyway, I have one left to read and then we're done for the night. This one is called The Greater Plan. I am held no more by life's alluring cry, her joy and grief, her charm, her laughter's lute. Hushed are the magic moments of the flute. And form and color and brief ecstasy, I would hear in my spirit's wideness solitary. The voice that speaks when mortal lips are mute. I seek the wonder of things absolute. Born from the silence of eternity. There is a need within the soul of man, the splendors of the surface never sate. For life and mind and their glory and debate are the slow prelude of a vaster theme, a sketch confused of a supernal plan, a preface to the epic of the supreme. All right, guys, that's it. I hope that you have enjoyed this poetry reading of Sri Aurobindo. On one website, I saw his middle name was Aykroyd. I don't know if that's true or if that was a joke, like Dan Aykroyd. Is that actually a name? How weird, right? So that'd be funny if that was really his name. Sri Aurobindo Aykroyd Ghosh. Anyway, I love each and every one of you. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for being my listener and for liking or subscribing to my podcast, no matter what platform you're on, so that you always get notifications. And just thank you for everything. I'm glad that you're here listening to my spiritual musings and ponderings. And on Saturday, my occasional, on some Saturdays, not every Saturday, but lately it's just been poetry readings for the past month. I don't know what I'm going to do for June, if it's going to continue on. Probably I'll continue with more spiritual poetry. I might look into existentialism. I tried today and it got to be so confusing. I'm like, well, Sri Aurobindo came up in my search, so. All right, it was time to read his poetry anyway. So, all right, I guess I'm done talking now. That's all I got to say about that. So I am signing off now with peace and love and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.